Right, hello friends, Jeff Forrester here. I'm going to do another demonstration for you all, and what it is a combination of coil and slab building. So I've made a rough sketch here, and just to give you an idea of what I'm aiming for is just going to be this abstract kind of industrial looking object here. And so I'm going to start, and I've pre-rolled some slabs. And I'm going to start by using this bisque ware bowl here as a form to build out of. And so I'm just going to put my slabs down in here, and then really this project is geared for those people who have done some coil building, have an understanding of that, and probably have also worked with hard and soft slabs. And so I'm kind of hybridizing those two processes to create sculptural objects or even utilitarian pieces. So often what I do is put some underglaze or even dry glaze down inside of my molds. And so the idea is that that soft slab is going to pick that color up, and it's a way for me to start building a depth in the surface. Most of you probably already know that if you're working in bisque ware or plaster, a plaster mold would work too. You don't need any kind of release agent. So that can be nice because it's a little bit less cleanup or even potential for unnecessary messes. And my palette's pretty slim here. I've got just a few underglazes in my new makeshift studio in Kingwood, and hopefully in the not too distant future we'll be able to get back into Mother Dog, and even if it's a socially distant way in doing that. So I'm just putting some color down here. I'm going to try to expedite this demonstration as to not make you watch a half an hour worth of video this time. So put some color down there, get those out of the way. So I'm just going to take these slabs I rolled out, put those down in there, and then basically what I'm doing is I'm just going to overlap the edges a little bit, apply a fair amount of pressure down to make sure that those are adhering and being conscious not to trap air in there as I'm doing so. And then I'm going to make sure I push down, really compressing this clay into the bisque ware. And often I actually start with the slab a little thicker than I want it, because that allows me to really compress this. And that's doing a number of things for me. One is that I'm going to have a much more secure connection between these two slabs. And then other things are, if I have a texture inside of my mold that I want to pick up, pressing the clay down firmly is going to do that. And then in this case, the color, right? So I want to pick up that color and not just let it stick onto the bisque ware. Alright, so I've zoomed in here to give you a better vantage point of what I'm actually going to be doing, and the real process that I was hoping to show you in this demonstration. And that is, I often refer to the coil slab method. So basically what I'm doing, and you can see I'm taking a chunk that's vertical, so it's going to be kind of in a coil shape to begin with. So long and thin, right? And so I'm just going to take that. I'm going to go ahead and squeeze it into a coil-like shape to get it started. Compressing those molecules a little bit. Often if there are air pockets in there, I find those during this process as well. And put that down on my canvas. This thick coil, and basically all I'm going to do is pound that down. And just like that, I've got this strip of slab, right? So then I'm I'm not going to show you how to do that again. I think everyone understands that, and I've actually pre-made a bunch of these. So the next thing I'm going to do is just take and just like coil building, I'm going to have some overlap. I'm going to make sure I really pinch that together good, and then rolling this around. Can't really see from that, so let me switch sides. And I'm just pressing that into the other side. So you can see here where it's overlapped, or can you? Pull this up here. I've got this seam right here. I'm going to support from the back, just to not push this where I don't want it. And just like coil building, going to blend that in, blending down this way. I know a lot of people like to pre-roll strips of clay and cut them at equal dimensions, so it's perfectly rectangular strips, and that's a good way to do it as well. But if you don't have a slab roller or access to, this works just as well. I actually prefer this way myself, just because I don't want to be storing a bunch of strips of slabs taking up space. And I also am not a huge fan of having to score and slip things together. I feel like the clay is already soft, so any extra moisture I add to it is just going to prolong the building process of drying. That's my dog. She's not happy about the weather. A little bit of thunder and lightning, and she tends to get excited. So if I'm starting a new slab, can again overlap those two seams, making sure to press that down into the slabs with a fair amount of pressure. I'm going to make sure that this fresh strip of slab I'm putting on is really adhering to that slab, the slabs I put in previously. And then again, I've got this seam here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend, this is on the outside, right? So I'm going to blend this one that way, and then the excess on the inside I will blend that way, so eliminating the possibility of any seam there. And then it's essentially just more of the same. If I blend this up on the outside, I'll blend down on the inside, and so on and so forth. So I'm coming back to this after having let it set up for several hours. It's a lot stiffer now. You can see that when I press on it, it's not going to have the same amount of movement as it did before, but this way I can continue building without distorting the shape. I've also decided to terminate this piece slightly differently than what I showed you in the sketch. You can see I've had this piece of cardboard sitting around for a while and trying to figure out how I was going to use it, and so I decided to just press slabs inside of it to make a positive of the negative space, and then after building up the cylindrical bottom part taller, I'm going to eventually join these two parts together. Of course, this also means I'm going to need to score and slip my fresh slab when I adhere it to this bottom portion that's stiffened up. And I don't have any slip pre-made, so I'm just going to go ahead and spray it down good, score it, spray it, and score it, and repeat that process until I have some slip built up on the inside. Alright, good morning all. So you can see I've got my project built up to this point, the kind of terminating point, and it's about like a soft leather hard right now. There's just a little bit of flexibility in the clay, but definitely way more rigid than when I was building it. So what I've done is I started to bring this top in to make a space for the cardboard portion to rest. And you can see I've kind of etched out the contour of that cardboard piece, and then this actually had been built in, coil built in a circular fashion. I just took an X-Acto knife and cut off the excess clay there. So another thing I did that you will not see in the video is I took my trusty metal rib and came around basically just on this edge, on the side and on the top, to try to define a more crisp line right here. And so I had reinforced this corner, the seam inside, with an extra coil for two reasons. One is knowing I was going to come in and do this because I want to have some part of it that's got more of a crisp, kind of clean edge, in contrast to the kind of that hand-built pinch texture that I've got on the outside. And then the other reason is it needs to be able to support the weight of this cardboard piece when I score and slip this on here. And so when you look at this, you can see it's pretty level, it's flat, right? And the top of this is somewhat domed. And so what I've done is I've already scored the top edge of this, and I'm going to go ahead and lay soft coils on here, so one coil all the way around. And I often do that when I'm attaching two parts together. And the reason is that softer clay will really adhere into those score marks and kind of join those things together. And then also any voids there might be, the soft clay is more inclined to kind of smash into those and fill those spaces. So I'm going to go ahead and put those coils down on here. And then because this is domed, the corners don't sit flush when I lie this down on there. And for that reason, I'm going to put a little extra clay, or maybe a second coil, on the corners, so those aren't lifted off of the top of this guy when I get it on there. So I'm gonna not slip this part of it because I don't want for the top of this to get too wet again. If it gets any wetter, I'm afraid it's gonna want to sag on me when I add the extra weight to the top. So I'm going to go ahead and create my slip on the soft clay and just let that really smash down into those score marks. And then of course what I'll need to do is just bag this, wrap it up in plastic tight, and I usually like to do that for at least like 12 to 24 hours and just let things kind of even out in moisture content. I've probably told most of you already, if you're in my classes, Class L, that when you do that, drier parts of clay will suck moisture out of damper parts and they just kind of even themselves. So I'm not going to make you watch me clean this whole thing up, but just to give you an idea. So my thought is that ultimately this thing is going to display this way once I have it finished. And so what those flanges, besides visual and aesthetic, the slabs I add to the side of this are also going to help prevent this thing from rolling off of a pedestal, right? So trying to think about not only the form and how to communicate ideology, but also how certain parts of the form might actually function in the finished object. So on that note, I hope y'all have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye.